Yo, what's up guys? In today's video, I'll be walking you through the different ways of funding a business, what you could use that business credit funding for, and the difference between business and personal credit cards. So let's get into it. When it comes to funding a real estate deal or any sort of business really, what most people go to fund it is either they'll go through their savings. Now, the problem with this is realistically, if you're getting into a real estate deal where you need to fork over 50 or 100K right off the bat, most people, for them to be able to save that kind of money is going to take years. That is ridiculous. And even if you do have that savings and you're investing into real estate, realistically, how many deals can you get into until you hit that glass ceiling? So savings, it's a good way to get started, but it's never enough. Now, all these different funding ideas, you might have to use some of them, but the idea is having a bunch of different resources and options. So savings, you could use it, it's not the most ideal. The other option is trading sweat equity in exchange for investors' capital. The problem with that is, for me, I'm not willing to give up blood, sweat, and tears just to get money. I want the whole enchilada. So if that's you, you could do that too. It's not the most ideal either. The other option is going through a high interest bank, private, or hard money loans. Now, this is good, and if you're doing real estate, you're probably going to be needing more and more of that, but we don't want to just rely on that, especially if you're just starting out, because it's going to eat away at your profit margins. The best option, especially if you're just starting with your journey, is leveraging 0% business credit. This is great for startup capital or even scaling capital because it gives you more cushion, more funds that you could call up at any time you want. It's obviously 0%, so you're not paying any interest and you're able to scale a lot faster. So what can you do with business credit funding? The biggest piece when it comes to business credit funding is it allows you to start now, right? The biggest thing I hear from people why they can't get into real estate or starting a business is that they lack the capital and the savings. By knowing how to get business credit funding, that is no longer an acceptable excuse because you know how to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding, and that should be enough to at least get you started and keep things going. Now, if you have the 0% funding now, you could liquidate those cards without doing a cash advance, which I'll show you in a later part of this chapter. But you could use that for the down payment, the renovation costs, and get into the new deals now versus losing out on potential deals that are too hot to miss. You know, a lot of people, they'll find a deal on the market and, they just lack the capital because that money's tied up into another place. That is no longer something that's going to be an issue because you could easily get approved for, a 10, 25, 50, multiple business credit cards and liquidate that, use that as a deal, and now you could lock it in without having to worry about that opportunity cost. So having access to the business credit opens up more opportunities for you so you don't miss out, and you don't have to save money and have to wait for years on end. So that's what you could do with it. Honestly, other than the real estate stuff, you can invest in anything. The applications for this goes across any industry. Every industry requires funding, and you could have the best idea in the world, but no one gives a shit if you don't have the money to actually be able to provide those products or services. So, think bigger picture. It's not just real estate, but for this focus, that's what we're going to want to be putting our money to because that's where we want to build that family legacy. But later in the following chapters, I'll be running the gameplay in more depth on how to best use that funding in different real estate deals. For now, let's just focus on the basics. So the other thing you could do with it is if you're just starting out, business credit's really important because every penny counts. 0% allows you to keep more of those profits and equity to reinvest back in the business rather than pay interest and grow your business at a much slower rate. So we get a lot of leverage and buying power with 0% business credit. Let's talk about the business credit basics and how it differs from a normal personal card versus a business credit card. So biggest thing to note here is Business credit cards typically give much higher credit limits than personal credit cards. The reason being is banks are more comfortable with lending on a business, if you do it right, because it's an investment. While personal debt is usually tied to liabilities, if you're buying a purse or something, odds are you're not going to be able to get any return on that, and the bank is a little bit more skeptical on lending out a lot on the personal. So get higher limits with business credit cards. The other thing is you're allowed to max out the business credit cards without it affecting your personal utilization. So this is huge because typically with personal utilization, you never want to be at over 30% or else your score is going to really tank down. And if your score is down, no one's going to want to lend to you. Now, with business credit cards, if I get approved for a 25 or like a 50K card, I can max that out, take the full value on it, and it's not going to affect utilization at all. Other banks, like if I max out a 50K card with Chase, Amex can't see that I'm utilizing a bunch of funding from Chase. So it's not going to affect their decision. Just because banks want you to max them out, because by nature, they know you're going to be spending a lot, especially with real estate. You could easily spend, tens and thousands of dollars just in one transaction. So gives you that flexibility. You don't have to worry about, that utilization tanking your score. The other big part is this is really huge because the whole idea of us getting multiple cards one after the other is you're able to wipe off hard inquiries on open business credit cards account without closing them. So if you were to try to wipe off a hard inquiry from an open personal credit card, there is a possibility they will close out the card. By this little loophole, this is what allows us to stack cards in such a short period of time. And in an earlier video, I explained typically banks don't want to see you have more than 3 inquiries within the last 6 months. If a bank sees you have too many, then they're not going to want to work with you. Now with this strategy and this little loophole, for me, if I got a deal, I'm not going to wait 6 months till I could get my next card. There's just no way. So the whole game plan is, let's apply for a couple cards that pull from Experian, a couple cards that pull from TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, all those 3 bureaus. Get the highest credit limit. Once we get approved, wipe off those hard inquiries, and then use the resource of all the different banks that are available for you to apply and reapply again. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys got a lot of value in this and kind of the importance of business credit and the basics. I'm looking forward to walking you guys through on the gameplay to start actually getting this funding. Let's get it.